Hello and welcome to another episode of DVTV, bringing you the next wave of digital video. I'm your host, Tony Reale, and today we're going to be looking at what kind of camera is the right one for you. Now, we get this question a lot because a lot of people are wondering, with so many cameras out there, which is the right one for me? And really, there are two questions that you need to ask yourself. What is my budget, and what is the use for the camera? Because depending on those two answers, there's pretty much a camera out there that will fit any budget and any need. So we started off with your basic consumer camera. This is an HD camera made by Canon, the Vixia HFM50, and this is a basic consumer camera. You pop it out, you can take home movies, autofocus, zoom, all the basic features that you'd be looking at from an easy to use consumer camera. There are a few manual controls, but not very many. And that is going to be the main thing that you're going to look at lacking in consumer-based cameras, is the full lack of manual controls. If you're out in outdoors and then you walk indoors, it's going to auto iris. Which is the exposure of the camera. So if you want something where if you were to pan across the room and you go from a window to somebody sitting at a desk and you don't want it to iris down for the window and then iris back up for the person sitting there, as you would expect from a traditional professional scenario, then you would need something that has full manual controls. Now, besides the auto features, one of the aesthetic looks of a consumer end camera is the small sensor size, which creates a very wide depth of field. Now, your depth of field is how much is in focus at a given time in your picture. If you want that shallow depth of field look that you might be used to in films in Hollywood or some of the higher end cameras out there, you're pretty much going to be looking at either getting a depth of field adapter to these, which if you look at my old videos, you'll see a lot of depth of field adapters because at the time that was the only option. Those can be bulky, those can make the camera suffer for light performance. So your better option is to look with a camera that has a larger sensor. Now, 5-10 years ago, this didn't exist. Now there's a plethora of them. The first one that you may be familiar with is DSLR video. I have a 5D Mark II right here. This is a great stills camera. It's a DSLR, which SLR stands for single lens reflex, which has these interchangeable lenses. And this allows you to shoot great pictures. Now, these are great stills cameras, but they can also shoot great video. Now, this video functionality was actually only added in the recent years. And it was added because there are reporters that were out in the field shooting pictures, and they also want to get a quick web clip. Well, the thing that we discovered was this looks like great video. This is a very filmic look, shallow depth of field, all the things that you would want from a large, big budget video production, but now being crammed in a very small body and a very affordable price package. There are a lot of great features to DSLRs. There are a lot of limitations to them as well. They don't have the full functionality of a professional camera, from the buttons to the ergonomics to a lot of the things that you might want, especially audio. There's such a thing as dual system audio, where you would basically record to an external recorder. This is something that was done in film times when obviously there was no recorder built into the camera. So it's something that people are familiar with, but for people that are trying to do a basic setup, it can be a little bit of a headache. So there are a lot of advantages with DSLRs, a lot of disadvantages as well. Another thing that have been coming out in recent years alongside DSLRs are mirrorless cameras. Now, the SLR has a built-in mirror that basically has a light that comes through the lens and then shoots out the viewfinder and allows you to see what the lens is seeing. But as soon as you take a picture, that lens pops up, the light goes to the sensor, takes the picture, and then the mirror pops back down. Now, with mirrorless cameras, the light goes directly to the sensor. It doesn't have an optical viewfinder, versus it may have either just a screen on the back or it may have an OLED viewfinder, electronic viewfinder like this one does. These can be a lot smaller because they don't have that mirror package. So again, you're making it much smaller, and the prices are very comparable, some a little bit cheaper than DSLRs. So these are two similar cameras, but they're still first and foremost a stills camera. Big advantage here, you got yourself a great stills camera for taking good pictures, and you got a great video camera as well. Now, if you're in the market, you want to go a professional route, you have a budget to work with, then you can step up to the professional cameras. And again, just like with the cameras that we referred to earlier, there's really two options out there. You've got the small sensor cameras, which are everything from ENG, electronic news gathering, video cameras for event shooters, like weddings, news, documentaries, whatever. And then you've got the interchangeable lens, more cinematic cameras. So here we have the Sony FS700. Just like with the other cameras that we looked at earlier, this is an interchangeable lens camera. It uses lenses, everything from still lenses to cinema lenses, large sensor. And now this is a professional camera. So it's got features like all the buttons that you would expect from a professional camera. It's got the sound inputs, XLR inputs, stuff like that. You know, lots of monitoring options. This is a professional camera. It has all the buttons, the bells and whistles that you would need from a professional camera. Now the price tag is higher with that, but this is something that would be for a professional user. So the question you have for yourself, what's your budget and what are your needs? If you're an event shooter, if you want to shoot home videos, chances are great that a consumer camera like this might work well for you. You might also have that smaller sensor with makes everything in focus, a lot easier to manage for people that are, you know, new to cameras. If you want that filmic look though, you're gonna wanna get a camera with large sensor. And anything from your DSLR up to your professional camera is gonna give you that look. Now in a future video, we're gonna also talk about some of the more detailed stuff, dynamic range, shutter speed, the codecs the camera shoot to, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to our channel and check out our other great filmmaking tutorials.